The day my parents paid my brother's college tuition, they smiled with pride. The day I asked for help, they looked at me like I was asking for something I didn't deserve. That was the day I learned love in my family had conditions. And I didn't meet them. My name is Ethan Miller. I am 18 years old. I grew up believing hard work mattered. I believed if I stayed quiet, respectful, and responsible, things would work out. That belief came from my parents, at least. That's what I thought. My older brother, Ryan, was always the golden one. Teachers praised him. Relatives bragged about him. At family gatherings, his achievements were announced like trophies. I stood beside him, invisible but smiling, because that's what good sons do. When Ryan got accepted into a prestigious university, the house exploded with celebration. My parents talked numbers at the dinner table, tuition fees, housing, meal plans. They sold a piece of land that had been in the family for years. For Ryan's future, my father said proudly. I clapped. I meant it. I had just graduated high school myself. My grades weren't perfect, but they were strong. I had dreams to business, finance, something more than surviving paycheck to paycheck. I didn't ask for a celebration. I didn't ask for land to be sold. I just asked a question. What about me? The room went quiet. My mother didn't look angry. That hurt more. She looked decided. Ethan, she said calmly, college isn't for everyone. My father nodded. Your brother has potential. You're practical. You can work. Figure life out. I waited for them to laugh. They didn't. I can apply to a local college, I said. I'll work part-time. I just need some help. My mother sighed, like I was being difficult. We can't afford to invest in two futures, she said. And honestly, degrees don't guarantee success. Ryan needs this more. That sentence stayed with me. Ryan needs this more. That night, while my brother researched dorm rooms on his laptop, I searched for jobs, warehouse work, construction, retail, anything that paid quickly. Ryan left for college 3 months later. We took photos. My parents hugged him like he was leaving for war. My mother cried at the airport. My father slipped him extra cash. They hugged me too, but it felt like habit, not pride. Life at home changed after that. Without Ryan, the house felt smaller, quieter. My parents talked less. When bills came, they reminded me how expensive college was, how lucky Ryan was, how sacrifices had to be made. I worked long hours, gave my parents money every month, paid for groceries, fixed things around the house. No one called it responsibility. They called it duty. Sometimes, late at night, I wondered if I had failed without knowing it. If there was something wrong with me that made my dreams less valuable. Ryan came home during holidays, dressed better, speaking differently. He talked about professors, internships, connections. My parents listened like students. I listened too, not with jealousy, with memory. Because every time Ryan spoke about opportunity, I remembered the conversation at the dinner table, the quiet rejection, the look that said you'll manage without us. One evening, during his second year, Ryan joked about how hard college was. You wouldn't survive a week, he laughed. My parents laughed too. That was the moment something inside me went cold. I realized they weren't just supporting him, they were choosing him, and I was done waiting to be chosen. I started saving secretly, learning quietly, planning patiently. If my family believed I didn't need a future, I would build one so big they couldn't ignore it. Not for revenge, not for validation, but so I'd never have to ask for permission again. I didn't leave home with a suitcase full of dreams. I left with a backpack, 2 shirts, and a silence so heavy it felt louder than shouting. The decision wasn't dramatic. There was no argument, no slammed doors. Just a slow realization that staying meant disappearing piece by piece. The final straw came on a rainy Tuesday night. I had just finished a 12-hour shift at the warehouse. My hands were raw, my back burned, and my shoes were soaked through. When I opened the front door, I heard laughter. Ryan was home again. He sat at the dining table, surrounded by papers, talking excitedly about a summer internship paid prestigious life-changing. My parents listened like proud investors. "Did you hear that, Ethan?" My father said. "This is what ambition looks like." I stood there, dripping water onto the floor. "I worked overtime today," I said quietly. "They're cutting shifts next week." My mother barely glanced up. "That's life. You'll manage." Ryan smiled, not cruelly, not kindly, just unaware. That night, my father knocked on my door. "We need to talk," he said. Those words usually meant responsibility, not care. "Ryan needs help covering some expenses," he continued. "Books, travel, networking events. Since you're working full-time, we thought..." I waited. "You could give a little more this month." I laughed, not because it was funny, because something finally broke cleanly. "You want me to pay for his future?" I said. "While you tell me I don't need one?" My father's face hardened. "Don't be selfish." Selfish. The word echoed in my head long after he left. That was the night I packed. No goodbye note, no explanation. I left before sunrise. The city didn't welcome me. It didn't care, and that was strangely comforting. I rented a shared room above a closed-down grocery store. The walls were thin. The heater barely worked, but it was mine. I took any job I could get. Delivery driver, night security, cleaning offices after midnight. Some days I worked 18 hours. Some nights, I slept on buses just to save time. I ate cheap, lived cheaper, while Ryan posted photos from campus smiling, confident, surrounded by people who believed in him. I learned something more valuable than any degree. I learned how to survive without applause. Weeks turned into months. My parents didn't call, neither did Ryan. At first, the silence hurt. Then it became fuel. I started reading business books during breaks, watching free lectures online, learning how money actually worked, how it moved, how it grew, how it disappeared when you trusted the wrong people. I made mistakes, lost small savings on bad ideas, trusted the wrong partners, failed quietly, but every failure taught me something my family never had: independence. One night, after a double shift, I noticed a flyer taped to a pole. Small business networking meetup, free entry. Free caught my attention. I almost didn't go. I was tired, worn down, invisible, but something inside me whispered, "If you don't show up for yourself, no one else will." So I went. The room was small. The coffee was bad. The people didn't look impressive, but they talked differently. They talked about starting with nothing, about being underestimated, about building quietly. For the first time, I didn't feel behind. I felt early. I met a man who ran a logistics startup. He talked about efficiency, delivery systems, wasted time, and wasted money. I listened, really listened. That conversation changed everything. Over the next year, I saved aggressively, learned obsessively, worked relentlessly. I didn't tell anyone, because I remembered how it felt to be laughed at. Meanwhile, life back home went on without me. I heard through relatives that Ryan was thriving, that my parents bragged about him constantly. They never mentioned my name, until one day, out of nowhere, my phone rang. It was my mother. Her voice sounded unsure. "Ethan," she said, like she wasn't certain I'd answer. "Your brother is graduating soon. There's going to be a ceremony." I said nothing. "We thought maybe you'd come." Come, like I had just stepped out for milk and not vanished from their lives. "I'm busy," I said. She hesitated. "Doing what?" I smiled. "Building something," I replied, and hung up. That night, I looked around my tiny room, the mattress on the floor, the desk I built myself, the laptop filled with plans and projections. I wasn't successful yet, but I was becoming dangerous in a way my family never understood, because the boy they dismissed was learning how to win without them. And soon, they would hear my name again. Success didn't arrive with fireworks. It came quietly, almost shy. The logistics startup I met through that free meetup didn't hire me. They tested me. Unpaid, temporary, disposable. Most people would have walked away. I stayed. I analyzed routes no one asked me to, found inefficiencies others ignored, sent emails at 2 a.m. with suggestions no one had time to read. One night, the founder replied with a single line, "Who taught you to think like this?" I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed back, "No one." That answer changed my role, not my title, not my pay, my access. They started inviting me into meetings, letting me listen, letting me fail safely. I learned how contracts were negotiated, how numbers could be twisted, how promises were made with a smile and broken with a signature. And I learned something more important. Power doesn't raise its voice. It waits. My first real money didn't feel real. I stared at my bank app for hours, refreshing it like it might disappear. It wasn't much, but it was mine. No one gave it to me. No one paid it out of pity. No one believed in me except me. I didn't celebrate. I reinvested, bought better tools, paid for one online course, just one, the kind that taught execution, not motivation. While Ryan posted graduation photos in a rented suit, I signed my first subcontract. While my parents attended dinners bragging about their successful son, I slept 4 hours a night building systems that didn't need luck to survive. Then the calls started. Not to me. About me. A cousin messaged, "Heard you're doing something in business now?" An uncle asked, "Is it true you're working with a startup?" I replied with silence, because silence had taught me more than conversation ever did. Ryan's world, however, was cracking. His internship ended. The promised job offer didn't come. Connections faded when they stopped being useful. He moved back home, and suddenly, the house that once echoed with pride felt crowded. I heard this from my mother's voice the next time she called. "We're worried about him," she said. I almost laughed. Not because he was struggling, but because struggle only mattered when it happened to the right child. "He just needs time," she continued. "You understand, right?" I understood perfectly. Time was something no one gave me. My second break came unexpectedly. A major client backed out of the startup. Panic spread. Meetings became tense. People whispered about layoffs. I stayed calm. I proposed a solution no one wanted to hear. Cut losses, restructure routes, renegotiate contracts. Risky, brutal, necessary. The founder hesitated, then asked, "If this fails, will you take responsibility?" I nodded. It worked. Not immediately. Not cleanly. But it worked. That day, I wasn't promoted. I was remembered, and remembered people don't stay invisible for long. The day my parents truly noticed me wasn't when I earned my first big check. It was when they needed help. My father called, voice strained. "Ryan is thinking about starting something of his own," he said. "He needs capital, just a temporary loan." I leaned back in my chair. The irony was heavy. "How much?" I asked. There was a pause. 50,000. I closed my eyes. Once, they told me I didn't need education. That I didn't need ambition. That I should settle for less and be grateful. And now, they wanted the future they denied me to save the one they chose. "I'll think about it," I said. That night, I walked through the city alone. Neon lights, busy streets, people chasing things they didn't understand. Revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel. It was patient, and mine was almost ready. Because soon, my family wouldn't just hear my name. They would need it. I didn't respond right away. Not to my father, not to my mother, not to the messages that suddenly started appearing from relatives who hadn't remembered my birthday in years. Silence had become my strongest position. The truth was, I could afford the money, not easily, not without thought, but I had built enough to say yes without begging a bank. And that was the part that terrified them. Because money changes the tone of conversations. They invited me to dinner, the same dining table where my dreams were once dismissed with laughter, the same chairs where they decided my future without asking. My mother cooked my favorite dish. She hadn't done that in years. "Eat," she said softly. "You look tired." I smiled. I was tired, but not from weakness. From carrying a past that was finally lighter. Ryan avoided my eyes. He looked smaller. Not physically, emotionally. Success had given him confidence he hadn't earned. Failure stripped it away. My father cleared his throat. "You know why we called you," he said. I nodded. No anger, no sarcasm, just calm. He continued, Ryan has a great idea, but investors want proof, capital, stability. And you think I can provide that? I said. My mother leaned forward. It's just temporary. Family helps family. I almost asked where that rule was when I needed it. Almost. Instead, I asked one question. What happens if it fails? Silence. Ryan spoke, voice sharp. It won't. I turned to him. Every business fails at least once. That's not negativity. That's reality. He looked offended. I looked experienced. My father sighed. We wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious. That sentence stayed with me. They wouldn't ask. As if asking me of all people was the last option, which meant something had already gone wrong. I agreed. Not immediately. Not blindly. I asked for documents, plans, projections. Ryan scoffed at first, then struggled to produce them, because ambition without structure collapses under pressure. I reviewed everything quietly, and I saw it. The cracks, the assumptions, the borrowed confidence. This wasn't a business. It was a gamble. I'll invest, I said finally. Their faces lit up. Relief, gratitude, something close to pride. But I wasn't finished. On one condition. They froze. I slid a folder across the table. Legal documents, clear terms, no emotions. I'm not giving a loan, I said. I'm buying equity. Ryan stood up. This is my company. It doesn't exist yet, I replied calmly. Ideas aren't ownership. Execution is. My mother whispered my name. My father looked torn. I continued. I'll fund it. I'll mentor it. I'll protect it. But I won't pretend this is charity. The room felt smaller. Finally, my father nodded. Ryan sat down slowly. The power had shifted, and everyone felt it. The next few months were revealing. I didn't interfere. I observed. Ryan resisted advice, ignored warnings, chased shortcuts, and every time something went wrong, the calls came. I don't understand the numbers. The supplier backed out. The investor meeting went bad. I helped, not because I felt sorry, but because I wanted the truth to surface naturally. Failure teaches lessons no lecture can. Eventually, the business stalled. Cash flow dried up. Expenses grew. Ryan cracked. One night, he showed up at my place unannounced. You did this on purpose, he accused. I looked at him, tired, frustrated, afraid. No, I said. I did this honestly. You did the rest. He laughed bitterly. You always wanted this, to prove you were better. I stood, walked closer. No, I said quietly. I wanted to be seen. You wanted to be praised. He had no answer. The final confrontation came at a family gathering. Relatives, smiles, pretend laughter. Someone joked. So who's the successful one now? Everyone laughed. I didn't. I looked at my parents, and for the first time, I said what I had buried for years. You told me I didn't need dreams, I said calmly. You told me to lower my expectations. You told me to support, not lead. The room fell silent. I did all of that, I continued, and still became what you believed only he could be. My mother's eyes filled with tears. My father looked away. Ryan said nothing. I didn't wait for apologies, because closure doesn't always come with words. Sometimes it comes with truth spoken aloud, and the truth was this: I no longer needed their approval. As I left that night, my phone buzzed. A message from an investor I had met months earlier. Ready to scale. Are you in? I smiled, not because I had won, but because I had finally walked away without carrying the weight with me. And what came next would be impossible for them to ignore. Success doesn't arrive with noise. It comes quietly, like a door opening that was never meant for you. Until one day, it is. The deal closed on a Tuesday morning. No celebration, no champagne, just a signature and a future rewritten. The company scaled fast, not reckless, not loud, structured, calculated, intentional. Every lesson learned from watching failure, I applied. Every mistake I had warned about, I avoided. And for the first time, I wasn't proving anything. I was building something that belonged to me. Months later, my name started appearing in rooms where it once would have sounded out of place. Investor meetings, panels, private dinners. People listened when I spoke, not because of my past, but because of my clarity. One evening, at an industry event, I saw them again. My parents. They stood near the back, uncomfortable, unsure. Not invited guests, just observers. They had come with Ryan. He looked different now. Not angry, not arrogant, just quiet. Our eyes met briefly. No hostility, just understanding. He knew. My mother approached first. Her voice was soft. "We're proud of you." I nodded, not because the words healed anything, but because they finally understood what those words were worth. My father cleared his throat. "You built this alone." I corrected him gently. "Not alone," I said. "Just without permission." That sentence ended the conversation, because there was nothing left to explain. Later that night, I stood by the window of my office. City lights below. Silence above. I thought about the version of myself who once sat at a table being told to settle, to stay small, to support, not lead. That version didn't disappear. They became the foundation. I didn't cut my family off. I didn't humiliate anyone. I didn't demand apologies, because revenge isn't about destruction. It's about distance. And I had moved far enough away that their opinions no longer reached me. Sometimes people ask how it feels to be chosen last, to be doubted, to be underestimated, and then to succeed. The truth? It feels quiet, peaceful, like standing on solid ground after years of sinking. The story doesn't end with applause. It ends with stability, with freedom, with knowing that no one gets to decide your worth except you. And that is the most powerful victory of all.